What's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
And this is our spoiler chat for Morbius.
And why you shouldn't see it.
Yeah, I mean, the non-spoiler chat said that, but we're going to go even deeper on why this is garbage. Because we get nerdy nightly.
And we thought we'd share it with you. That is right. Guys, I just want to point out, if you've seen the non-spoiler chat, I would like you to realize that you called this movie trash.
It's trash.
Mm-hmm. But when I say movies are trash, I'm being too harsh. If you enjoy it, how? I guess I'm happy for you. But yeah, this movie is garbage. It's a steaming pile of hot garbage. I gotcha.
I know, and here's the thing. I'm always the guy who's like, well, someone's going to enjoy it, and I don't want to, like, shit on them. But, like...
We're about to shit all over you.
No, I don't. It's not them. Like, if you enjoy this movie, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you not to enjoy the movie. But, like, the movie doesn't make sense.
No.
And the movie doesn't try to make sense, and it's not good. Like, it is thematically about nothing. The moment-to-moment of it is just... It is just things that happen.
Yes.
They're not related to theme. There's no structure to the arc of any of the characters.
Yeah.
There's no payoff to the end of the movie. Like,
I think, honestly, my metaphor is completely accurate. You throw your toddler on their tricycle for the first time, you push them down a hill, and then they crash.
Yeah, but here's the thing. When you call things trash, sometimes it is because you don't like it, right? And this goes beyond not liking it. This goes into, like, the fundamentals of filmmaking have been ignored.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Not even filmmaking. The fundamentals of storytelling have been ignored in this movie in a way that I find utterly gross.
Yeah.
For them to charge money, this should have never been released. They should have watched this in a test screening and gone, okay, we fucked up.
Yeah.
This was the greatest mistake Sony Pictures has ever made as a studio.
Yeah.
And they should have never released this film.
They should have just let COVID sweep it under the rug. Right? Like, it was supposed to come out however long ago, and they should have just let it go away.
They should have, and they clearly reshot and made this worse somehow. They can't have not, right? Because there's so much in those trailers that is not in this movie.
Yep.
Let's start at the beginning of the film. So we open in Costa Rica. Michael Morbius sets up a trap. He catches a bunch of bats. Fine. Up until now...
Okay, but what? No, okay. We need to start right there. Because you and the non-spoiler chat were like, oh, it's fine up until this certain point. And I'm like, no. I'm sorry. That scene was utter nonsense.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a trap, but the bats fly through it. I didn't really understand what was going on. Also, the bats... He later says that the bats will attack anyone that they come into. Yeah. But they already aren't attacking him in that scene when they're all flying around him.
They don't attack him. They don't attack the other people as well.
They also seem to only be attacking the helicopter by running into it, which doesn't seem like a thing bats would do.
No, they would not do that because they have echolocation. I'm sorry. This movie literally starts off with absolute utter nonsense. And I was like, oh, okay, well,
I don't know why him cutting himself would make the bat, like... They're not sharks. Like, the movie wants them to be sharks, and they're not sharks.
No, they're vampire bats. Like,
which don't drink human blood.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Like
in real life, which, whatever. So then the movie has
what? We should do Dracula Untold again, but with superheroes.
So the writers of this also wrote Dracula Untold. If you haven't seen that movie, it's because... No one saw it except me. I went opening night.
I saw it in theaters, and I'm mad about it.
That's the only movie you've seen, too. There's so many good movies you have. Anyway, so from this, they do the, like, circle edit into the next shot, which is literally, I was like, I thought we were about to have a bunch of Star Wars wipes throughout the entire movie. But it only happens when we travel through time.
Oh, when that's the theme.
It is the flashback effect to this movie. So then we go back in time to very briefly meet Milo, whose name is Lucian, but because many children ago that bed was a Milo... Michael Morbius, who is a brilliant child, calls all those kids Milo, which to me was like, oh, they're setting him up to be kind of an asshole. No, he is the nicest man alive. He is utterly flawless as a human being. Yeah. Literally. Like, they've created this brilliant doctor who has a gorgeous woman who's obsessed with him. He helps small children by being really kind to them and doing origami.
He has created synthetic blood for like basically commercial use. Everybody knows what it is. Everybody knows who he is. Everybody knows this incredible invention that he's had, and yet he has no money of his own.
Yeah, he's poor, despite the fact that he has created arguably the single greatest medical invention of all time.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he's mean to the noble peace. Like the girl is a freaking doctor, and she keeps saying it's the Nobel Prize, and then he says Nobels, as if like it's a joke that she doesn't know that it's the Nobel Prize, but she's a doctor. Like.
Yeah.
You want me to believe that your female character is smart out the gate, right? Because she's supposed to be his, like, intellectual equal who helps him with things. And then you write a joke that makes her seem like an idiot? Any doctor in her field would know it's the Nobel. Mm-hmm. But she literally says Nobel twice in, like, I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's not funny to reduce her intelligence for this joke for no reason that has no payoff.
Yeah, oh yeah, it doesn't come to anything. Like, there's no reason for it.
So Michael's only flaw is that he is too hard on himself. Like, he is mean to the Nobel people because his
like, I don't
invention
deserve
was
this.
an accident. And he is perfect in every other way except for his disease. It's like if you took Sherlock Holmes, but you took away the, like, social distance he keeps with people.
The, like, assholeness of it, yeah.
You took away the thing that makes the character interesting.
Yes, exactly.
And so
exactly.
He's a nothing character because he's too good. He's too nice. He's too good with kids. If he was good with kids but an asshole with adults, fine. I would buy that.
Yeah.
I would buy that immediately. That would be kind of interesting. No, there's nothing. He has been so smoothed over as a character because they don't want him to be a villain. And so in turning him into a hero, what they did is they took away anything interesting about him,
yeah.
and they told Jared Leto to just give a generic performance.
Be a nice guy.
And so he goes to visit his friend Milo, and he's like, hey, Milo, I need you to use your ridiculous wealth that you have.
Yeah, I was like, how?
How is Milo rich? The movie never explains where his money comes from.
Here's the thing. There was a moment in that opening scene with him that said something about playing, and my brain, and here's a problem is we're in the middle of reading Wheel of Time right now, and I was like, is he like a gambler, or am I just like literally pulling this out of
No, yeah, he was gambling.
Okay,
but
so I didn't make that up. But
he
I was like,
clearly comes from money.
Comes from money, I guess.
He has to have family money. It is the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's no way he made money gambling as a person who has to have dialysis 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not possible.
Yeah.
And if it is possible, if that's what the movie wants us to believe, they could have inserted that anywhere, and they just don't. So you have to assume that he has family money, which isn't implied in the childhood scenes. He just suddenly is very wealthy. So wealthy that he is the biggest donor to Horizon Labs.
Yeah.
So
he can just front
Jared Leto
stuff.
pulls some venom out of a bat, which he then synthesizes with mouse DNA. That works.
I thought he pulled out his like gallbladder or something.
Maybe not venom, but like
I don't know.
something.
He takes a part out of a bat and puts it in a spinny thing, and magic science.
So he's like, I need you to hire a boat to take me into international waters so that we can do an illegal experiment. I have worked on a boat. You've worked on a boat. What is the first thing you learn when you work on a boat?
Don't do illegal stuff on a boat.
There is no such thing as international waters legally. You are at the behest of whatever country you are closest to. The legal laws of whatever country you are closest to are the ones that you are subject to. They are 13 miles off the coast of the United States of America. Okay. They're not in international waters.
No. You know what it is? It's the writers of this movie believe in the whole sovereign citizen thing, where if you're like born on water, you don't belong to any country, or like...
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You've never heard of this? Oh my God. There are people in America that believe that they are sovereign citizens, meaning they don't have to follow the laws of wherever they're living because they were born
on a boat?
Because they were born, some of them consider like placenta to be water, but like in a pool, or like because they're born like on water. It's wild. Look it up if you just want to go down the rabbit hole, because it doesn't make any sense. But that's what I mean. Like,
you're not born on placenta.
The
placenta comes out after you do.
I don't know. I am not an expert, but I have watched videos of people in America yelling at cops that they're sovereign citizens and there's nothing they can do about them breaking the law. Anyways.
Okay, so Milo hires the boat. They get on the boat. We're gonna go through every scene of this movie. I promise you, because I have a complaint about every single one.
Yeah, none of it's good.
They get on the boat.
Yeah.
And then they inject him. That scene was great. The injection scene was really well done,
Yeah.
and there's some great banter. I actually think I wish I knew how to pronounce her name. I feel bad. I think it's Adria Arjona, who I actually really liked in. I just looked it up. What was the movie I really liked her in?
Pacific Rim.
Oh, I liked her in Pacific Rim Uprising because I was wondering the whole movie where I recognized her from.
Yeah.
They have some good banter, and honestly, their relationship is fine. It's not the best, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen in a film.
Yeah.
They inject him, and then the lights flicker on the ship upstairs, even though that can't be related. So the captain of the ship picks up his gun to go downstairs to threaten the people who hired him.
Yeah.
In what is it was a clip that they put out, and I'd seen. I was like, "What is happening?" It makes even less sense in the movie because they clearly are paying them.
Yeah. Matt Smith has paid much money for them to be on this boat in international waters, and for some reason, the guy is like, "Yeah, I'm gonna pick up a gun and I'm gonna be a sexist prick and call the lady doctor a nurse. Ha ha ha! Isn't that comedy? Knee slapper." And I was like, "This is
Terrible.
just so like." So 2004.
It's one of the scenes that made me be like, this script was written 15 years ago.
Yeah, I was like, this is not funny.
So then Jared Leto transforms.
Yeah.
He turns into the vampire, kills that dude.
Yeah.
So other people rush into the room. No, that dude pushes the doctor over, right? Is it that dude?
Yes. No, it's not him.
The
His
other guys
buddies come in, and she's like, no,
shove
don't
a woman.
shoot him. And they're like, get away, and throw her, and she is knocked unconscious.
Then Jared Leto proceeds to kill everybody on the boat. He kills 8 total people in this scene.
Except her.
And he drains all of them of their blood.
Yeah.
All of them. Which is so much blood.
So much.
He wakes up and he has abs and pecs.
Yeah.
And not only is he healed, but he is now in like Captain America shape.
Yeah. Which is here's why that doesn't make sense. Because it seems like when he's like hurting and not drinking blood, that he kind of like that he goes back into that like sickly state. But in this, he's in this weird in between where he's not like the monster, but he's still like hot dude. And you're like, why?
Well, and it's a question of like, why would a little bit of blood cause your mass to fluctuate so much?
Yeah,
like
I
the
just
first
put
time
on
makes sense, right?
30 pounds of muscle.
Well, but he drinks like 30 pounds of blood. So the first time it makes a little bit of sense, but not really. Like, how does his body? Why does his body coagulating blood differently give him muscle mass?
Yeah, because that was the thing that he was taking from the vampire bats. He was like, they have this special thing so that the blood doesn't coagulate, so they can drink it and digest it.
It also makes him give off smoke when he moves quickly, but bats don't give off smoke. And so at no point in the movie did that. And I was waiting for them to be like, that's how I see the world. And like, it's his perspective because he's hearing the echolocation. At no point does the movie ever try and explain why everything is all smoky.
Yeah.
It just makes the action sequences look like
nonsense.
It looks like they're processed out of Premiere wrong. It looks like the images were like smudged by the digital processing of the footage.
Yeah.
It's just consistent, so obviously it's not that. It was clearly intentional. It just, there's no reason for it.
Yeah.
It's just an aesthetic they went for.
It was a choice.
So then he wakes up, he's got abs, he looks hot. He calls a mayday signal and then swims?
Yeah. Disappears. Full disappears.
Like swims 13 miles to shore, which I guess he can
flies,
do now. No, he doesn't know he can fly yet. He doesn't realize he can fly until later, right?
He can like smoke jump.
He can smoke jump at this point, but he can't fly
step.
yet.
If you've played D&D, you can basically misty step. Yeah.
So then he gets back to New York. The boat gets towed into shore.
Uh-huh.
His girlfriend, who he left on board, is in a coma.
Yeah. She's done. She's like in the hospital.
And nobody knew that he was on the boat with them, I guess. So there's no record of him being there because all the footage is wiped.
Yeah, he wipes the footage.
So then he just starts to go about his life as if nothing happened.
Well, not go about his life. He locks himself in his lab. And that's it. And like,
no, but he's walking around the lab.
The lab, yeah.
He goes to see the little girl. And the little girl isn't like, hey, you put on 30 pounds of muscle.
When does he go?
Oh, no, she's in a coma. Right, they had to put her in a coma.
Yeah, she's in a coma because she knew he died.
He had to... okay, there's no way he snuck into the building.
No, because every single person there works for him and knows his face.
And the fact that he has to use crutches to get around. There's no way.
You could see him
There's
from
no way.
a mile
Also,
away. Like
Martine gets hurt. He comes back. Like it's oh my god. So
he locks himself in his lab.
He gets into his lab somehow. He discovers that he wants to drink blood. I don't know how he figures that out, but like he does. He's just like, I want to drink blood now. So he starts to do the like superhero scenes in his lab where he's like, and it's wonderful that his lab has 50-foot ceilings so that he can do this crazy parkour nonsense in there.
Yeah.
But like no lab would have an office like that because it's a waste of space.
Yeah,
like,
there's absolutely no reason for you to
it's
have
so
vaulted
unreasonable.
ceilings.
How did also Martine gives him crap about having all of the bats in there because she's his boss, I guess.
Yeah,
in an early scene, it seems like she's his boss, even though she works for him throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know how he got those bats into that office. It seems like it would be a very public office.
And who's feeding them? Those bats just live in there for days.
No, the janitors are on it.
The janitors are feeding them blood?
There's a staff that are feeding those. No, those bats don't need to eat blood. They can eat, like, meat.
I thought the point of them was that they consume blood.
They do, yeah. But vampire bats don't have to consume blood. I mean,
Okay, so
maybe
the
they do. I don't know. So maybe they just have a bunch of pig blood somewhere.
The janitor's just gonna open the door and throw in a steak?
If how the bats get fed is our biggest problem with this movie, then it's not that bad.
But like, it bothered me.
Okay, so where are we at? Morbius is in his office. He starts to test himself, and he realizes that the synthetic blood he makes works, but it doesn't work as good as red blood. So he's stronger when he drinks red blood than blue blood, which leads to hilarious sequences in this movie where people keep saying that they're on red.
Yeah.
Which is another moment where I'm like, this movie was written in 2004 because being on red means something now.
Yeah.
And so it's hilarious when he's like, oh, he's on red now. And I was like, oh, she's not answering his text message?
Yeah. She left him on red. That sucks.
Do the writers not like interact with modern culture in any way? Anyway, not important. So the window of time in which he is super strong on blue is getting smaller. It's becoming less effective really quickly.
Well, and like healthy, because if he stops himself from having it, he like
yeah.
What's the word? I don't know.
Regresses.
Dies. Yeah.
He regresses back into whatever the unnamed condition that he has at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
He has about 6 hours on blue right now, but by the next day, it's 4 hours and 22 minutes.
Yeah.
And I wish it was just 4:20 because that would have been funny. Because then there could have been some stoner jokes. It would have been funny. Like there could have been a good bit about 4:20 that they skipped over by making it 4:22.
Yeah.
So then Milo comes to see him. Milo walks in, sees him, goes and gets him blood. He comes out of the cell and kicks Milo out. At no point in this does anyone indicate that the 2 green vials that he has with him are also the cure, right? There's
cure?
no point.
Oh, to the
There's
disease.
no point where Milo, that it is reference to Milo that those vials are the cure.
Milo just sees 2 things of like yellow-greenish liquid, and I guess, assumes that he should take one for some unknown reason. But
it gets weirder than that. Because those 2 vials are very important because they're the only remaining bits of the cure.
Yeah.
Milo leaves. An indeterminate amount of time later, because the movie's trying to hide that it isn't Jared Leto's Morbius that kills this nurse.
Yeah.
A nurse is walking down the worst hospital hallway design I've ever seen in my life. It makes for good horror. It is a good concept for a horror idea. It is nonsense in a hospital.
Because
the light is only on when it is directly above you. And so she's moving down the hallway and one light, they turn on at a time, and then the light at the end of the hallway keeps turning on behind her and getting closer, but there's nothing in it because you can see there's like a dark shape that's like moving around it. The problem with this is that Matt Smith has apparently taken the thing. He took the cure, which has to be injected into his back, which means that somebody in the hospital injected into his spinal cord the cure that he can't have known was the cure because it didn't have anything written on it. No one told him. And then it cuts back to Jared Leto waking up and finding out about the nurse being dead. And I swear to God, both of those vials are still on that desk in that scene.
I didn't see them.
They're still there. Which means that Matt Smith did this by taking a cure that the movie, I guess the people who made the movie forgot that the vial needed to be gone for that scene. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't see it, so I can't say anything because I was looking for it. I was like, oh, a vial is going to be gone.
And so at this point in the movie, Jared Leto does not remember what happens when he vampires out. Up until this point, when he vampires out, he doesn't have a memory of it, right? On the ship, he has to watch the footage to know that he vampired out. And in this moment, he has to go, he has to like, he doesn't know, he just doesn't. He assumes that he's the one who killed the girl.
And he's like,
for the rest of the movie, from this point on, at no point does he not remember things when he vampires out. They completely drop that because the mystery that Matt Smith killed the nurse goes up in flames real quick because he gets arrested. He goes to prison. Matt Smith comes in as his lawyer, pretends to be on the cane because he's still pretending. He leaves the cane behind and leaves like, ha ha ha. He's drinking, I'm assuming, blood out of a thing.
Out of a flask, yeah.
So he just immediately forgets that
Morbius as well.
He leaves red blood for Morbius of all things. He makes I think he thinks they're friends at this point. Yeah. So the problem here is that Matt Smith gives up that he is the villain and that he's the one that killed the nurse like 3 minutes later.
Yeah.
And so the mystery of, is Morbius the bad guy? Never a problem in this movie. Except for the fact that he killed 8 men on that ship, but they were sexist and had guns.
guns, yeah.
So the movie becomes Matt Smith versus Jared Leto. Matt Smith kills a bunch of cops in front of Jared Leto, and Jared Leto's reaction is, I don't want to fight you, I'm just going to run away. Jared Leto's like, I want to be the good guy here, so I'm just going to let you murder people indiscriminately, and I'm just going to leave the situation.
Yeah. He flies. He basically
he feels the wind.
He basically is in a subway station and feels the currents around him because it kind of seems like they're supposed to be going like it literally doesn't matter for me, but he basically feels the breezes around him and can use them to fly somehow.
I think that he feels the air pressure being pushed by the train. And he flies on the current of the train air that is being pushed through the tunnel by the train.
Yeah, but where is his moment? Anyways, it literally doesn't make sense. There's no
he
sense
also
to it.
Never flies in that manner before or after. Every time he flies, it's for a different reason.
Yeah, he misty steps with the smoke.
Yeah.
So, and this is the only time he flies, and it never happens again.
We're about halfway through the movie now. At this point, Morbius is on the run from the police. Everyone thinks that Morbius keeps murdering people.
Yeah.
So Morbius goes to a drug hideout.
A drug hideout?
No. He runs into the girl.
Money launderer.
No, he runs into the girl.
On the bus.
The doctor, what's her name? Dr. Martine Bancroft. He runs into her on the bus while she's being chased by the FBI because they think that she's involved because she is involved.
She is. Well, that was the weirdest part. She's in the hospital, all right? She's in the hospital in this movie. Oh, yeah,
let's not skip this.
Eating Jell-O, and the agents come in to talk to her and question her, and she's like, oh, I'm having a hard time remembering what happened that night. And they're like, okay. And so they leave. And then she's allowed to be...
one question.
Yeah.
They ask they go, do you remember? She says, no. And then they just leave. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
And then she gets discharged. Like, there's no follow-up for them. They, just let her go and then decide that following her is going to be a more effective way of finding out information about her, even though she walks into a convenience stop, says something to the guy at the front to be like, don't let those guys know where I'm going. And I'm like, how do you know this person? Are you part of an underground network?
No. This is a New York thing. This is a thing that you won't understand because you haven't lived in New York. But that's her bodega. She goes to her bodega, and her bodega guy. If you go to a bodega enough, you will form a kinship with your bodega guy, and he will hide you from the FBI.
Fair enough. I just can't imagine going into 7-Eleven and knowing the guy behind the
A 7-Eleven is not a bodega. There is a difference between your bodega guy and like a person who works at a 7-Eleven. That's not your bodega guy.
Sure.
No. It's very different in New York. That is a culturally New York thing that I saw, and I was like, I get that.
I just was like, how do you have like an underground network when you're a doctor
it's just your bodega
in New York
guy.
City? All right, fine.
It's just she goes in there on her way to work. She gets a coffee. Probably she seems like a milk and sugar kind of gal, and she gets like a bagel with a nice schmear. You know what I mean? And she goes to every day.
Bagels in there.
Okay, that is a New York bodega. They have bagels.
All right.
They have a counter. There's bagels. There's a hot plate. They make a mean, I guarantee you, mean wrap. You want a buffalo chicken wrap? They can do that.
Sure.
Yeah, they can
All
toast a
right.
bagel better than any like chain.
So unless you're in New York, you have absolutely no idea what happens in that moment. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's very confusing.
She walks into this bodega, says something to the guy, walks all the way through it, goes out the back door, and just disappears. And the FBI
No, she
guy
gets
is
on a
like,
bus. She clearly gets on a bus. We watch her on the bus immediately
guess,
after, and we
but
watch the
he's-
FBI guy watch the bus leave.
He's just not that far behind her, so I don't know. She got real lucky. That's all I'm saying.
So then,
Oh, our food's about to arrive.
oh great. So she leaves on the bus, and Morbius is just there.
Yeah, he's
So
like, hey.
they go to a coffee shop
Yeah.
where he's like, this was a mistake, and she's like, I'm just gonna flirt with you.
Basically.
And so he's like, all right, can you go to the lab and get stuff for me? So then and then he overhears two people trying to launder $100 bills at this small coffee shop.
They're like, yeah, they're trying to give the lady at the front counterfeit hundreds.
And so his idea is that he's going to follow them because if they're making fake $100 bills,
Then
they
they
must
have a
have the
lab?
technology that he needs to.
Yeah. So then he commandeers their like money printing lab.
By kicking them out and leaving them all alive. All
Yeah.
he does is break the one guy's hand viciously, and like the movie wants him to be the hero, but he like is literally just breaking this guy's
He's like,
hand
do you
bone
know
by
how
bone.
many bones are in the human hand? The pinky. But
No. He says the metatarsal. He says the phalanges, and then he says the stinky pinky, which I think is supposed to be a joke, but it wasn't funny.
It wasn't funny. I was
Not
like,
one person
the
on our theater laughed.
Pinky's not a bone.
Yeah. So he takes the lab and he turns a machine that prints fake $100 bills into a centrifuge. Fine. Meanwhile, Martine goes to the lab that has caution tape on everything, but all of the doors are open.
Yep.
And she walks into the lab, doesn't realize that Matt Smith is just sitting there.
Yeah, he's just hanging out.
They have a conversation where Matt Smith is like, do you know where Morbius is? And she's like, no. And he's like, I'm going to ask you again. Do you know? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, all right, I'm going to go. And he
Yeah.
just leaves.
Yeah.
She
he like
gets
listens to her heartbeat.
she gets something from the lab.
Something. I don't know what. We are
Morbius does not
told.
tell her what he needs from the lab.
No.
And she does not grab anything that we see. And so I'm
Except a
assuming
laptop.
something of... Oh, did she grab a laptop?
Yeah, she put either a file folder or a laptop in her bag, but it was like a
Cool.
gray rectangle.
I guess it's his notes that were just on his desk.
No idea.
And this is where I kind of checked out. What happens after that? Does this just head into the final fight? No, yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah,
Michael
because
Morbius makes a
then-
cure within
He makes a cure in this money laundering basement.
No, but he makes the cure back in his lab. How does he get back into his lab to make the cure?
No, he doesn't get back into his lab.
Does he not?
No, he doesn't. He does that with the money people's technology. I don't
Right.
know how that happens. And then we get Matt Smith goes to work, goes to
No,
he goes home.
Morbius-
and
Oh, yeah, this happens first. Okay.
yeah. So what happens is basically we find out we know from this movie from the beginning that the two boys have a doctor who believes in them. He's the one who sent Morbius. He realized how brilliant he was, sent him to school, and got them to pay for it, and then took care of Milo while Michael was away.
Jared Harris.
Yeah, Jared Harris, and he.
Funnily enough, previously, Moriarty.
Oh, and so he shows up he realizes because there's a police statement about, Morbius is killing people unless it's a fake Morbius, and they show a kind of blurry picture that kind of looks like Matt Smith, and so he's like,
Christ.
oh no, it has to be Milo, and he goes to Milo's house and he's like, hey, like I don't recognize you, like this is kind of messed up what you're doing here, and he's like, oh, why are you judging me, and like
Because
slashes.
you're murdering people.
Yeah.
You all... Morbius was always your favorite because he was a good person. And I'm like, well, Morbius is... he did kill 8 people, but since he's gotten control, he has actively not killed anybody.
Yeah, and the weirdest part is that, like, we are never set up that Milo is, like, a crappy person. All we know about Milo is that he had the crap kicked out of him one time because...
When he was a child?
Some kids stole his letter, and he tried to get it back from them. Like,
Yeah.
that's all we know about
Well,
him
because no
beforehand.
character gets a setup before Morbius becomes Morbius.
Yeah,
Like, everyone
and
gets
so-
one scene, so you don't really learn anything about anyone.
No, and so he, like, slashes this guy's stomach,
Yeah.
who's basically been his father figure his entire life, and then, like, punctures him in the neck so that by the time Morbius... He calls Morbius. He's like, you have to stop him. Morbius shows up, and he breathes his last breath.
But before
and
this...
dies.
Before this, Matt Smith did watch from a faraway bridge as Morbius and Martine share a chaste kiss.
Which came out of absolutely nowhere.
An
the
unnecessarily
weirdest,
chaste kiss.
Yeah.
It wasn't passionate or romantic. Like you would assume that like he's never like if I were to write this movie, if I were writing this movie, I would have made it so that okay, this guy has always been put off about like intimacy because he's ashamed of his body. I would have made that a part of the movie. And then he gets his gorgeous body and he feels confident. And so when he finally, as a vampire, kisses her, it's with some passion.
Yeah.
There's something there. There was nothing there. It was the most like, see you, darling. I'll be back from work tomorrow. So then Morbius goes to see Nicholas because he's hurt. Meanwhile, Matt Smith kidnaps Martine, takes her to the top of a different building, slashes her throat. Morbius gets to Martine on the roof where she is bleeding out. At this point, we know 3 things. 1, the only way to become a vampire is to be injected in the spine with this cure. Except, oh wait, we don't know that because who knows how Matt Smith got the cure in him.
No
2,
idea.
he has made 2 double cures. I guess cure is now weird, right? Because the original thing is a cure for their disease, but then he has the cure for the vampirism.
Yes.
There's 2 doses that he's created. One for Matt Smith, one for himself.
Yes.
And the 3rd thing that we know is that Matt Smith wants to fight.
Yeah,
because he's upset he wasn't Daddy's favorite.
Jealous. Yeah, it's very weird, especially
but the fact that he's uber wealthy.
Yeah, especially because like he says like I'm here to help him or whatever. He just doesn't know it yet. He just needs to accept who he is. But instead of like trying to get him to accept who he is, he just beats the crap out of him.
So Martine is dying.
Yeah.
And so what Morbius does is he kisses her. In that kiss, she bites his lip.
Yeah.
So that she gets some of his blood in her mouth.
Yes.
And then she goes, make it worth it.
Yeah, make it count for something or whatever.
So then he drinks her blood because the red blood makes him stronger.
Yes.
So basically, at this point, if you watch vampire stuff, which you didn't know this, which I found interesting, the old vampire lore is that the way to turn someone into a vampire is that you drink their blood and they drink yours. Yeah. Is there something wrong with your hair?
Nope, it's just soft.
Okay. You drink their blood and they drink yours. And that's what turns you into a vampire. Now, this movie is not about magic fictional vampires. It is about a disease. Suffice it to say, she's a vampire at the end of this movie, which is great.
Yeah,
because that means they want to make another one of these.
Please, dear God, no. But the problem is, I had no idea how the fuck she turned into a vampire.
See, okay, but that's on you. This is widely accepted folklore.
I read Twilight, so
that's.
I'm teasing. But I did watch
Wow, that's
Brad
the most
Pitt's
disappointed
vampire
I've
movie.
ever felt in you.
I have watched Brad Pitt's vampire movie. And I don't remember.
Yeah? What's that movie called?
Interview with a Vampire, I think.
Hey, you got it right.
I couldn't remember. I know it was something like...
It's Interview with a Vampire.
Oh, and what's her name is in it?
Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore. No, the kid.
Drew
Dakota
Barrymore.
Fanning.
Is it Dakota Fanning?
Isn't Dakota Fanning in that one? And then she's also in Twilight, so it's like... Or is it... No, it's not. No, it's not. Kirsten Dunst. It's Kirsten Dunst. That's who's the little baby
Kirsten
vampire.
Dunst, not Drew Barrymore. I was like, Dakota Fanning would have been a year old.
Yeah, never mind. Anyway.
So anyway.
I've seen vampire stuff, and for some reason, like I said, I saw Dracula Untold.
Morbius...
Didn't know that this was a thing.
Morbius, at this point, has drunk the red. He's on red.
He's on red.
So I was like, okay, at least we're gonna get a cool final
Martina
fight.
left him on red.
We're gonna get a cool final fight, and then to finish this off, the fight is about 3 minutes long, and it consists of them falling down a building.
Yeah.
Matt Smith slashes Morbius exactly once.
Yeah. Kicks
him exactly once. Then they fall through
the concrete earth.
Through the ground of New York City
Underground.
into the giant open cavern under New York from in Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I think was a reference to Amazing Spider-Man. I think that this takes place in the Amazing Spider-Man
I was
universe.
like, yeah, they reused the set.
It feels like it. In Sony's version of New York City, there are just massive underground
caverns,
abandoned construction sites.
Yeah, that are just that are not being held up by anything.
So at this point, you think, okay, this is where the fight's going to happen. Because they haven't really fought yet. Matt Smith hit him twice. He sucked at fighting, even though he's on red now. You think they're going to fight.
And
no.
Morbius is like hanging upside down from a beam. You know, like he did as a kid on like the
Like he did earlier in the movie. It's a reference to the first time he used his powers.
Yeah, so he's like a bat.
It's like poetry. It
like
rhymes.
a bat. And then he falls down.
Mm-hmm. And Matt Smith goes, is that all you can do? So he puts his hand in the water.
Which starts vibrating.
And screams down the tunnels.
He screams?
Yeah, he goes, ah, and there's like that long echolocation shot that chases his echolocation. That would have been so much better.
That would have been so much better.
So at this point, you're like, oh, like what? I assumed that his echolocation was going to call out to Martine. She was going to wake up and they were going to double team Matt Smith, which would have been a hotter end to this movie.
That would have been really
Instead,
something.
what happens
is the water vibrates and 8,007,800,052.5 bats from New York City just swarm instead of Sharknado, the Batnado, and ruin Matt Smith.
But
somehow.
So Jared Leto apparently now has the ability to control bats. He uses them. It reminded me of Big Hero 6 when the mini not Tamagotchi, but the mini like Roblox technology that allows him to like build things with his mind, but with bats. And so him and Matt Smith, he never lands a blow on Matt Smith himself. He only ever hits Matt Smith by going,
with bats.
And like a fist of bats punch Matt Smith into a wall. And then the bats are like pummeling Matt Smith so that he's stuck on the ground. And then Jared Leto just walks up and stabs him one time with the thing and he dies.
With the cure thingy, yeah.
Now at this point you're wondering, wait, but Nerdy, 5 minutes and 30 seconds ago, you said that there were 2 cures, one for Matt Smith and one so that Morbius could kill himself. The premise was that he didn't want to ever drink red blood.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not going to do it.
And so at this point, you think, oh, Jared Leto's going to have to come up with a reason to not kill himself now. There must be a plot thing that happens. There must be a resolution. There must be dialogue about it.
Don't worry. I'm here to assure you that absolutely does not happen.
Yeah, nothing happens. Martine's eyes open and Morbius flies away.
That's it.
That's it. At this point in the movie, at the climax, at the resolution of this movie is nothing happens with the second vial and Martine wakes up. There's no more dialogue in the film after Matt Smith dies. There is nothing. Oh, Al Madrigal and Tyrese Gibson look at the hole and watch Morbius fly away.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
With all the bats in New York City.
That's it. That is the...
I don't know how all the bats showed up there so quickly. Like,
echolocation. They got they're super bats.
They don't know how to teleport.
I know. So here's my problem with this film.
Everything.
Name the theme of this movie.
The theme of this movie.
Name a theme of this movie.
The theme of this movie is don't do drugs, kids.
Nobody does drugs in this movie.
I don't know. That serum could be a very hefty drug.
No. There's no theme. The brotherhood, not a theme. They don't have enough scenes together, and it's not resolved.
No.
Like love isn't a theme.
No,
it's barely hinted at.
The whole like science.
What was the point of Morbius's arc? He doesn't deal with the second vial, so we never even have an arc. He doesn't learn anything.
Yeah, he literally does not have an arc. The whole time he's like, "Oh no, shoot! I've become a monster. I refuse to drink human blood." But then at the end, there's a post-credit scene. Let's finish alive.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But let's get to this first. This is a film that fundamentally does not have a reason for being.
Yeah.
There is no story told. There are just events that happen in an order that leads to not even a conclusion, but like the bad guy loses. This is without a doubt the most ineptly bungled together film I have watched in a long time, and I have seen some crap. Yeah. I have seen some garbage, but the plot of The Room makes more sense structurally than this nonsense. This is the most expensive blunder of money I have ever seen in my entire life. I've never been so disappointed in the middle of a movie and never so baffled at the end of a movie as this piece of trash. And I know that I'm usually the guy that's like, somebody likes something. There's always somebody, this is always somebody's cup of tea. I don't see how this could be your cup of tea. I'm sorry if it is. I'm sorry if I feels like I spent the last, however long this video is, just ranting about how every single moment of this literally sums up to a middle finger Sony Pictures stuck in a theater and made you pay to go look at. But this is garbage. Like, this is inept. And I'm upset. Yeah. Because I love Morbius, the living vampire. He is a great comic villain.
Yeah, Matt Smith is awesome.
But he's Matt Smith plays the version of Morbius that I see in my head.
Yeah.
This was all unbelievably inept.
Yep.
And then, despite the fact that I did not think that it could possibly get worse, the executives over at Sony forgot the plot of their own movies, and they gave us the worst post-credit scenes they possibly could have.
Yeah, like we've been seeing on Twitter the last couple days, the reviews for Morbius hadn't been great, and everyone was like, "What is up with those post-credit scenes?" And I was like, "They can't be that bad." You know what I mean? It's a post-credit scene. Like how bad could they really make it? And let me assure you, if you're here, you've either seen the movie or you came over from a non-spoiler chat and decided not to waste your money on it. Let me tell you. When I say these post-credit scenes don't make sense, I mean in literally no sense of anything, of world, of character, of I'm baffled.
So the first post-credit scene is it's a prison cell.
Yeah.
And then the golden light from Spider-Man No Way Home happens, and
Yeah.
Michael Keaton arrives
Yeah.
in Morbius's universe.
Yes.
And I guess Venom's, because Venom happened in this universe.
Yeah, because they make a Venom reference.
So,
was so
no
out of
other
place.
character at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home is sent to a different universe. Everyone goes back to their universe. It is the premise of the end of the movie that people go back to their universe. Now, either this is implying that Adrian Toomes was put through the multiverse as a child and like didn't know that he was from a different universe, and he is being returned to his original universe, which is an insane leap to throw into the final scene of this movie for no reason.
No, yeah.
But that's the only way that it would make sense. Every other character at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home goes home. Because at the end of No Way Home, there is a way home, and it's magic.
Yeah.
Right? And not only is Adrian Toomes shifted universes, but I would argue that he is not aware of what's going on outside of prison because he's in prison. He is transported to this universe and goes, hope the food's better in this prison. And I'm like, what a weird reaction to shifting universes with no warning and like no preparation and no idea that shifting universes is a thing. Like, is he supposed to be like comfortable with the idea that he's in a different universe entirely?
I don't know. It literally makes no sense, because then we get post-credit scene number 2. Basically, they escort him out of jail, and that is post-credit scene.
Well,
1.
post-credit scene number 2 starts with Adrian Toomes arrived miraculously in prison somehow, but since there's no record of how he got there, they're just gonna let him go. Because that makes any sense.
Yeah, let's just go with that. I mean, yeah, I guess you don't have like a legal conviction to like keep him in prison, so fine, I guess.
So,
and then we have Morbius.
He's driving. Morbius. It cuts to the post-credit scene from Fast 7 when Vin Diesel is driving off in the sunset, but instead of him, Morbius is there, who has never had a significant amount of money, is driving a ridiculously nice car.
Maybe he inherited all of Milo's
after he murdered him
from I don't know, but
so he drives out to the desert, and then he starts to see the waves of the earth coming at him, whatever his vision thing
weird
is.
Weird echolocation smoke thing.
The vulture suit from Spider-Man Homecoming flies at him, stops, and goes, "Hey, I saw you. I don't know how I got here, but I know that it has to do with Spider-Man. He basically is like, I'm putting together a team." To do what?
To do some good is what he says.
Questions.
To do some good.
Oh, is he going to be a hero? That's kind of fun.
He's not going to be a hero, because we know Vulture is not a hero. Vulture sees himself as the hero when he is not.
Yeah, but Morbius wants to be a hero.
No,
in this movie, Morbius wants to be a hero. I know, but he doesn't. But he wants to do the right. He doesn't want to kill people. He is adamant about not killing people, right? And Adrian Toomes might have been changed by interactions with Spider-Man. Maybe in this universe,
Vulture and Morbius are
Morbius, Venom are going to become like the Avengers of this universe, and they're going to be the good guys.
That sounds heinous.
But really fun with Michael Keaton and Tom Hardy interacting. I don't really care about Jared Leto or Morbius because his character is so bland in this movie. But here's the problem with this. One, the Vulture did not build his own suit. It was built by the Tinkerer. The Vulture doesn't know how to build his own suit. He might have like worked on it a little bit, but
he has no access to the materials.
The materials that built the Vulture suit came from the Chitauri crashing on Earth. That did not happen here. He does not have access. He does not have money. He does not there is no reason in any universe that Adrian Toomes should have been able to build that Vulture suit.
No, because he appears in this universe with probably not a penny to his name.
In prison.
In prison. You know what I mean? Like, he gets out of prison. It's like, maybe the government gave him a little bit of money to get started. Be like, I don't know what happened to you.
Why
but, like,
would they do that?
I don't know. I'm trying to justify it somehow, how he can build a fucking metal, like, super suit built out of alien tech. Like, it absolutely makes no
Sony
sense.
executives did not watch their own movies that they produced, and they made trash.
It's like they fell asleep. So it's like in the screening, they fell asleep in the movie and like slept through the post-credit scenes, but then woke up and were like, oh yeah, that was great. I totally was paying attention.
I don't understand why they put this out. Honestly, I understand that they spent money on this.
But the pandemic happened and they easily could have swept this under the rug.
You have harmed your brand so much.
Yeah.
The Venom brand was barely okay.
And Venom, like, we've talked about this, how, like, Venom is also one of those movies that, plot-wise, is nonsensical. But it's fun and done in a way that is actually enjoyable to watch, right?
But is it for everyone?
No, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But, like, I want to acknowledge that because we have literally torn this movie asunder, you know what I mean?
And we like both Venom movies.
We do. We like both Venom movies, even though we can acknowledge that, like, the plot stuff is, like, kind of ridiculous. But, like, it's like they wanted to go the route of Venom, and they're like, oh, but people don't actually really care about, like, whether or not it makes, like, a ton of sense. But then they took out what made Venom good and worth watching,
which is the relationships, the humor, and the buddy comedy of Venom versus Tom Hardy and Eddie Brock.
Eddie Brock, yeah.
And then the genuine, like, there is a genuine something between Eddie Brock and whatever, the girl.
I forget her name, sorry.
God, why can't I remember her name right now? But like, this movie doesn't have that. This movie doesn't have character relationships. It skips everything. It rushes through every beat.
Yeah.
And I cannot believe that Sony didn't realize how damaging this was going to be to their brand.
Yeah. This was supposed to come out, like, when COVID hit, and it got pushed, and it got pushed, and it got pushed.
It probably would have been better.
You think so?
Yeah, because it would have come out before Spider-Man No Way Home. And so the post-credit scene wouldn't have been the same. And so it would have been a better movie because the post-credit scene is such garbage.
Oh,
if this was pre-Spider-Man No Way Home, it would have been a better film.
I don't know.
This movie was supposed to come out before Venom 2.
No, I know. But the thing is, like, the post-credit scene is bad, but it doesn't make the movie worse for me. It's just all bad.
No, I was like, this is a bad movie at the end.
Yeah.
And then the post-credit scene happened, and I went, oh, the people who made this movie have no clue what they're doing. Because this doesn't make sense with the universe they've set up.
That they've built.
Like, the movie's trash, but the post-credit scene is a destruction of the work that they have put into building up the new Spider-Man, which is their $2 billion franchise. No Way Home made $2 billion. They should have put out a Morbius movie following that could have coasted. If they had put out a mediocre Morbius movie, they could have coasted.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered because the goodwill of Spider-Man No Way Home would have been so strong. Instead, what they put out was one of the worst movies in over a decade. Yeah. And I cannot believe that nobody at Sony piped up and went, maybe we should just take the loss. Yeah. Because honestly, I think that this movie crushes their universe.
Yeah,
I don't see how Madam Web or any of the Silk, any Black Cat, Silver Sable, I don't care. I don't see how any of those movies have any goodwill after this.
No, you ruined it. Like,
it's like when Dracula Untold killed the Dark Universe, and so they had to rebrand it without Dracula Untold and do The Mummy. And The Mummy killed the Dark Universe a second time. And both of those movies are better than this. The Dracula Untold and The Mummy, whatever, was it just The Mummy? Whatever the Tom Cruise one was. Both of those movies are bad, and they are better than this. And both of those movies killed franchises. It was the same franchise that died twice, but both of those movies were franchise killers. And I think that Morbius might do the same. I think that Sinister Six that they've been talking about, Silk, Madam Web, Black Cat, Silver Sable, Kraven. I'm so worried about Kraven the Hunter now. If this is the same studio that's putting out that Aaron Taylor Johnson Kraven the Hunter, where he's the hero, I'm not on board because this was awful.
Yeah.
This was unpleasant to sit through.
Yeah.
And like, what an embarrassment for Jared Leto. He wins the Razzie last week, the worst supporting performance of the year. And then this week he puts out this garbage film that gets a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is generous. I don't know who liked
Oh,
this.
1.5 out of 10? That's pretty accurate.
No. That means that 16 people gave this a 6 out of 10.
Oh, right, because it's how Rotten Tomatoes is weird like that.
That means that 16% of critics gave this movie a 60.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
This is a
movie
0.
is like a 2 out of 10.
Oh, God, it's not a 2 out of 10.
No, I give it a 2 out of 10 because, like you said, the one detective guy, very funny.
Al Madrigal is
best
going...
part of the movie.
Dude, your career is about to blow up because every
Get it.
single review, I think, is going to be like, God, guys, is Al Madrigal brilliant?
Yeah, so that's 1 point.
Yeah.
And then Matt Smith is the other 2 points, and that's the only 2 points you
2
get
out of
out of 10 for the movie.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine, it's a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I think
But,
that's...
I think Sony might have just killed their franchise. I think that I think Marvel now has more leverage at that bargaining table whenever the next Spider-Man contract comes up because they can go, "You think you can make movies without us? Did you see Morbius? I'm
Heard of
sorry.
Yeah.
Did you go to any of the test screenings for your movie Morbius? Cuz
Yeah, no, they're screwed. And the theater was empty. And it was dead.
It was
and
the IMAX screening too.
Yeah,
It wasn't even like some random
It wasn't even a normal
screening.
theater, like a regular theater. It was IMAX. And literally after the movie, everyone around us was like,
This movie was supposed to make, after the initial reactions came out, it was supposed to make 50 million. Then 2 days ago, that was adjusted down to 40 million. And honestly, right now, word of mouth is going to start going out. I have a feeling this drops. I think 23.
Yeah.
I think 23 to 25 million dollars. And it might overperform that, but like it's week 1 to week 2 drop is going to be massive. This thing is going to tank.
Yeah.
This is going to, it's going to be an embarrassment for Sony. And it should be. Like, you made this. You deserve the embarrassment for this.
yeah, you put this out, and we're like, yeah, we worked hard on this.
I've never been this mean to a movie ever online. I was nicer to G.I. Joe Snake Eyes than I was to this.
And Snake Eyes was probably like,
No, that was a better movie than this. At least it was Henry Golding being charming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At least the cast in that was generally awesome.
Yeah, no, I
The
think you're
casting for Snake Eyes, not bad. This, Jared Leto, dude, stop making comic book movies. You don't get any of these. Your version of every single one of these characters is wrong.
Yeah.
Just stop. Go do your
You think
shitty
that,
Italian accent in fucking House of Gucci and win your Razzie for your awful performance.
Yeah. You think that after the Joker, literally like a character that people for some reason adore, that like they hated your performance of it, you'd think, maybe it's not my bag. You know, maybe it's not my bag. But I don't know. It looks like also the documentary films are also not your bag.
Documentary films?
I don't know. House of Gucci is like a
biopic, not a documentary.
I was like, that's not the right word. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single thing that I've enjoyed him in.
I mean, like, he shouldn't have played the part in Dallas Buyers Club, but he's very good in that role.
I didn't watch it, so that's fair.
Yeah, he like a trans woman should have played that part, and like, you know, watching a white cis het man play that part is uncomfortable. But his acting is he. Here's the thing: I don't think Jared Leto's a bad actor. I just think Jared Leto doesn't get comic book films. I think he wants to make them his own thing. He wants to take them so seriously and he's like, I'm an artist. I'm going to make my Joker and it's awful. And then he's like, I'm going to make my Morbius and it's bland. I think, honestly, that the reaction to his Joker was so strong that he overcorrected the other way on this and made his Morbius just
boring.
A vanilla wafer.
Yeah.
Like, literally. I wish more of that Joker energy was in his performance. It would have been better. I wish this was weirder.
Yeah.
There's a couple of horror moments, but like for the most part, this movie's just really bland and vanilla and milquetoast.
Yeah.
And like, I shouldn't be calling a Morbius movie milquetoast, but that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
It's visually unappealing. It's written like it's your first script that you wrote in film school.
Yeah.
And that two white men who don't understand women wrote in film school.
Yeah. Or comedy.
It's bad. Anyway, we've talked this has probably been so long. This movie's awful. I hope you didn't go watch it for your sake. If you do want to watch this, it'll stream eventually. The post-credit scenes are probably already online. Just go watch them there. I don't usually advocate for pirating things, but do not give Sonya your money on this. This was just a waste of mine. If you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. If you don't, we understand this was just a lot of ranting.
We have a lot to say.
Yeah, leave me comments down below because the algorithm god is hungry. We must feed her. If you want to follow us on the internet, you can because I am over at Nerdy Nightly.
And I'm over at Claris Polaris. Make sure you check the links below. We have one for Javi Coffee, which I don't... It's
great. I like Javi.
Whatever you say. Or you can use Clarus for some gamer subs. Get 10% off. It's probably a tastier version of caffeine. I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna get hate for it. But
I like coffee.
I know.
As always, y'all, do something nerdy tonight.
Bye.
Bye.